All right, and sticking with Hulu again, let's talk for a bit about Freaknik, right? This
Sure.
was, or I should say, the Wildest Party Never Told, right? Remind me again, Ricardo, because I remember late last year you mentioned of a Freaknik documentary that was coming out. I'm not sure how
Right.
you found out about it, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if I remember correctly, they made okay. So remember when the Last Dance made a mistake of releasing something a year ahead of time.
Uh-huh.
I think something similar happened. It's something somebody somebody in promotion or whatever slip this coming out about a way ahead of it should be. And I think people are just kind of hyping it up and talking about it, and like, oh shit, a Freaknik documentary coming out. And yeah, I was I heard about this, and stuff like TikTok and things just kind of spread that news real fast, and it became viral. It's like, oh shit, a Freaknik documentary, especially in this post Me Too era, boy, gone everybody uncle and thing gone get sell out, boy, that kind of thing.
Exactly,
Uh,
yeah.
and there's a really funny like generational conceit. With we're done with the '90s, nice in basketball thing. There, it's that right. It's just yeah. Sorry to say it, but a lot of these cultural things we could probably move on from. The Freaknik is one of those spaces where you could really do that. For the most part. But yeah, I go ahead.
Yeah, well,
Just
well, well.
talk
For
about
me, right? Just continue on with the intro, right? So I was surprised when a trailer dropped, right? I remember tagging you and some of my hip hop loving friends, right, on Facebook, right? And I hype it up as the documentary of the year, calling it right now, right? And yeah, I was excited as all hell though. And even more interesting for me was like the thumbnail that they used, because they used like an old photo of Outkast. That was when they
right,
were like that was during the whole Southern playalistic Cadillac music era, right?
right,
In
yeah,
'94. Yeah, to promote it, like, okay. But I didn't know the full story, right? So I'll confess this, right? So um I am like prior to me going into this, I knew little about this, right? I knew that it was I know that it was mentioned before in rap songs, right? And I
right,
wouldn't lie to you, I was happy, I was overjoyed because one of the songs that I always remember this, Freaknik being mentioned is on the Welcome to Atlanta remix with Jermaine Dupri. And,
right.
we former boy P. Diddy and
Okay,
who it was, boy Murphy Lee and Snoop Dogg, right? So it was a different version from the Welcome to the original song, which was off of which was a bonus track off of a hint track, sorry, on Ludacris's album, well, Word of Mouth,
right,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
so he have a line where Jimmy says, "I don't know about y'all, but I miss the Freaknik, because that's when my city used to
Right.
be real sick." I always remember that line though, like just those
So
bars
yeah,
always stood out
for
to me.
me, for me, Freaknik I would have been too, it would have been before my time. So I only was somewhat aware of Freaknik because of just kind of the just general period, and you know about it because you have like older cousins in college. You kind of know what it is. So if you knew but to me, Freaknik didn't seem to be anything more different from, say, a Black Spring Break of sorts now. That aspect of it. And they get into that. Like they get into that aspect of it. It's not bad. Like I just thought Freaknik is one of those things that just is a cultural thing, but on the one end, but on the other end, you're thinking they're trying to make it out as this real dread nastiness kind of stuff. And I don't think
Yeah.
that's what was going on.
No,
Like
but
it's
but
that,
I, I
right?
but I love how the show explains that too, now, because it's in the title, Nick, right? It's something about here. No, sorry, freak. When you hear freak, it's like
Yeah,
freak. Like I love how they
right.
address that here. Well, actually, come to think of it, it's the creators, well, founders, if you will, who did it, and it's just so funny to me that it just turned out to be like this sorority group. You know what I mean? That this black college in Atlanta, they came up with the whole idea in the first place. Yeah, how they came up with the name Freaknik. So it's freak and picnic, right?
Yeah,
But it's when you hear the name the Freaknik, and especially when you hear with that southern drawl, yeah, the song kind of dirty. It sounds kind of nasty. You know what
right.
I mean? But I love how like early on they sort of debunk it and say, no, it's not no like nasty, it's not no
Well, yeah,
OT thing,
it's one
it's
of those
no
things.
no.
All right, so they addressed this. So okay, I'm gonna full straight up say it. I thought this documentary was a lot milder than it would have been. I was expecting it to be a real wild kind of thing, and they get into the dark aspects of it.
True,
But it
true.
was like, well, I thought they would have be like, "Way boy, Uncle Luke, boy, you gonna get cancelled," kind of thing. And like, no, really, he just wild and he just do his thing, and it was a product of time. And this is much like with the Woodstock '99 documentary. It make me feel like Bill Cobb from Demolition Man, talking to my younger cousins about it.
Oh,
Like, most of them don't know about this. that kind of stuff. Like, it was that wild kind of thing, but it was a little before my time. You know it from in its overlap with Girls Gone Wild back in the
early 2000s, yeah.
Right, and then of course BT Uncut, if you know, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Man like Joker, Joker the bail bondsman, right? If you know who that is, right?
Oh,
Which is hilarious. But yeah, and then really what kind of puts it in the mainstreamers was T-Pain's animated show, right? Like that's how I know it's that aspect of it. But yeah, it's basically just the black equivalent of like a Spring Break kind of thing. It's just Spring Break in a black space. Atlanta is a very black space for the most part.
But compared to like the beach aspect of Spring Break, right? This is a street party, right? So it's the equivalent of how Carnival is, but replace Carnival bands with just with traffic and just people just walking up and down the street just wild out.
Yeah, and they just make a space, and it's like it's a college space. It's black Greek culture. Mark Lamont Hill was in this, and I thought he was great as usual. He like just talk about the culture, the history of it. But what surprises how they make it such a kind of love letter to Atlanta. It's like, right. Jermaine Dupri is the guy that we that Puffy thought he was, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of like actual production, it's like, I forget Jermaine Dupri, Jermaine Dupri, producer Chris Cross. It's like, he did that.
Oh, that's a common hip hop knowledge, bro. But it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry. I just have these massive gaps in my knowledge, right? Sorry to say, but yeah, it's that. But yeah, that's they make some of the soil stuff. They talk about Atlanta. They talk about Outkast. They talk about the history of it. But what they did great, they contextualize the history of Atlanta in terms of the money and when it's time for, especially the mid 90s, the Olympics.
Yes,
right?
in 96, which I forgot it was. I forgot it was set there. No, I remember the Olympics, but I forgot it was in Atlanta.
It was Atlanta, and I remember, and they really did a good contextualization of, all right, we had to clean up Freaknik because it's too much of a problem, and it's just more the street party low level aspect of it. And yeah, they just get into that aspect, and they bounce around with it. I thought it would have been like this real salacious thing, and it really wasn't really that. They didn't really do all of that.
But the salacious is kind of coming.
Uncle Luke got a lot of screen time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is cool. Like, I mean, Uncle Luke is, I mean, his influence on it makes sense for him to be in it, right? Because
it have a lot of rappers that I thought would have be like get cancelled, but like all things considered, like Uncle Luke kind of surprisingly on the up and up. Like I don't know, like I'm sure some stuff could come out about him, but given the nature of his material, it's between him and Akanyeli, right? It's like
God,
wild as hell material that in the days now. So I was like, right, well, Uncle Luke here, right? Well,
yeah.
They make it work. Yeah.
And there's actually a great moment where you see him in a studio. I don't know, it's probably Jermaine's zone if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, talking to Jermaine, like, remember back in the days, and I used to do this, and people was going off for as in Uncle Luke's music and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, like reminiscing, right? I like the fact that even though you didn't see much of him, boy, I'm a boy, Lil Jon, you know what I mean? Talking about how big of a deal, just how big, Freaknik was, and whatnot, right? But yeah, like you, I thought that it would have gotten a little more salacious in terms of what was going on, Again, it's just like when you hear the name there, as an outsider, you think it's just like a bunch of nasty shit now. But no, it's just people wilding out. Not wilding out, but just like having fun now, But yeah, but so often, booties will bounce and, men might get a little tusty and whatnot, but nothing too serious, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's no worse than any party area like we call it Mardi Gras or just just anything in Cabo or wherever it is now or wherever that MTV would go. It's not that it's just about as bad as that, all things considered. But yeah, I didn't know about the history stuff because they get into the Black Greek culture aspect of it, and that was really interesting. The 80s, the stuff in the 80s, the show, and then the show A Different World was a big influence on that.
Yes. That and School Days, Spike Lee's
School Days, right, yeah. And I was like, you're right. All of this was like kind of connected to this stuff now, and they make it work for what it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just thought this is really, really excellent in that way. I surprisingly enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It was fine. I felt it could have done more with the material.
Well, like you, I enjoyed it as well. I didn't love it, right? For me, like the runtime is like ridiculously short. At least how. Yeah. Like I thought it was going to be longer. This is like about 82 minutes. I felt we could have had more, because I was just enjoying the story so much. I was just fascinated by all the details on that kind of stuff, right? I honestly thought that the story is going to be set in '94 now, so I was real liking the stuff with Outkast and how they and Organized Noise were promoting the album before it dropped, so they were dropping like these, what they call album samplers, but they were in the form of cassettes, and they were like literally just walking down the street, well, not Andre and Big Boy, of course, but other people, from LaFeast, I guess, LaFeast Records. Yeah, I was just walking on the road and just giving it to people who had the car park up there, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love that they were just blasting these songs, you know what I mean? Yeah, that worked, right? But just how the music spread, how black entrepreneurship, right? They really emphasize on that too, right? And
and it's a little stuff like selling t-shirts.
T-shirts, yeah. And it's one of those things that you wouldn't think about when you see, booty shaking, but it's about like just being yourself, you know what I mean? Just having fun, you know what I mean? It's not so much black excellence, but just, we black people, and don't mind we students or whatnot, but just give us a chance to have fun, right? What I did not expect was seeing 95 Freaknik and then 96 in particular with the Olympics and how that impacted the scene, right? Things got dark too in the third act. It has a story involving this woman who well, I think her and a friend, almost got I will just say it right out of the gate, almost got raped, right? I don't want to say she got attacked, but it was bordering on rape, right? Mere fact that she was brave enough to tell the story after those years, because fun fact, she was interviewed at for when it happened. That took a lot of bravery though, but it really shed a dark light on things though, right? On that. But I like that the show didn't go as far to say, well, you see, that's why Freaknik was a problem from day one. It's like, no, it's just drunk, crazy Negroes. You know what I mean? I don't want to say the word. Just not not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? But you could also see why, even after the Olympics, why people in Atlanta, no mind white people, was like, we had to stop this. But what really surprised me though, slight spoiler, is the people themselves, or at least one of the members of that sorority group chat was like, we gotta end this. This is going way too far. We gotta stop it, right? Yeah.
I mean, is the problem with the street party stuff? Like, you have two aspects of it, and is when you see the problem with the stuff is that if you want to have it, and if it's free, that's the price you pay, kind of thing. Unfortunately, like if you want again, I get into the reality of it. I know, yes, people should be better, blah blah blah. That's the whole point. You want to say it. I know it have people today, and this is just locally. It have young people today who don't even know that they could just do Juve for free. Like, they don't get that. Other people know, but I have to be part of a party and spend $200 to get to some space. I'm like, wow, that's interesting that no one knows this. And there's an insidious, again, the commentary culture, the encroachment of money and manipulation of something that is effectively a street culture kind of thing now. And it's if it could end or not, and there's a whole class dimension to it that they get into. Then I like that they get into about this, like the nature of street parties and why it is the way it is. And sorry to say, it's just a set of wild fellas out there who just can't deal with themselves, and they should. Let's be clear. Mm-hmm. But they don't. That is the nature of it, and they make it. But they get into that back and forth about culture and the system and power, and Atlanta always had a big back and forth about that, right? In terms of who should bring money and why and whatnot. But I thought it balanced itself off, all things considered, and making it work now. So it's that.
Last point I want to make though, I really, really dug how in the last section of the film, where they talk about how they try to revive Freaknik, right? And there's like one blink in the missing moment where this is where 21 Savage comes in. He performed at one of those events, right? There's a blink in the missing moment where a guy who about to be interviewed say, I am the new founder of Freaknik, right? And they drop a TM right in the title card itself. I was like, all right, I like this. I rewind. I was like, okay, I see what y'all did there, right? But I love how they compare those little moves being made, right, by these younger guys, and then you'll see Lil Jon, you'll see Jermaine Dupri, you'll see Uncle Luke, and I forgot the other rapper who was involved too, right? Saying But yeah, this is not Freaknik. This is not like that's not what it's about. It's not this sanitized event, and you're coming in.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
an expo, right? Because one of the examples it shows literally like this indoor expo thing, and
Yeah,
I mean in
yeah.
the night they have like dance contests and whatnot. And they
That's
say,
the
well,
problem,
no,
right?
that's not what it is. But at the
So,
same time, how they compare to it, what happened with the girl with that incident, it's like, all right, I understand what it is all they're trying to
well,
do, but all they're losing the point of it.
right. Well, because where Freaknik could possibly go if it were to survive is that it could become Burning Man, right? Burning Man is one of those things that just became super corporate, like in a short space of time. After a while, now the second people started to hear about it,
Yeah.
it just the money running to it, and then see problem when the money jump up, you had to control the space, and so on, so on, and so forth. And it's that weird back and forth about that. Now, true, now we having this argument every fucking year for basically 50 years about carnival, right?
Yeah.
Every year, the encroachment. This year it'll be like, okay, the corporate side get too encroaching, and it just kind of bland and boring, and too much money need to be spent just to go to carnival. And the other year, right, it'll be open, and then the usual pearl clutchers will get mad about, oh, it was too wild this year. You need to clamp down on security and so on. So, and it's one of those things I don't think you can ever get a proper balance for. To be honest, like I don't know one way or the other. Look, I don't know how to run these things. I don't know the business of carnival in terms of the money or this kind of stuff involved. I just know it from just the outside and just the cultural commentary stuff, right? But yeah, it's that. It really feels the same way. But they do a good job with that of getting both sides of that argument playing itself out for the most part. But I don't know, the documentary, I was expecting it to be more salacious, and in some ways I'm glad it's not, because I think that would have like this, totally like overwhelmed the documentary in that sense.
I know, but at the same time, the title though, Wildest Party,
Right.
Wildest Party,
Right,
like I saw wildness, but it was like,
means you know what?
well, I mean, like it's just people out having fun, but that's like the closest
Right.
thing. All right, that and like the like later on when shit started to get real serious, like okay, that's wild, right? But like I don't know. Again, it's just the like image of what you think about when you hear the name Freaknik. Yeah, you was expecting to see that there. You know what I mean? So what we mean, like we was expecting a little bit more explicit stuff in it, but no, you don't really get that though, which is kind of a bummer. Not a letdown, but kind of like I don't know.
Right. It's that. Yeah, that's how I felt about it. It was good. I enjoyed for what it was. But I just couldn't get into it or have me thinking about it, and had me thinking about the culture. I think they didn't do anything. Again, I seen it as a Trinidadian, so because I am accustomed to this discourse, we have this discourses come every year. It wasn't interesting for me as a discourse, but I can imagine younger Black Americans, it new to them maybe. So it's good for them, I suppose. But this was all right. It was fine. I mean,
it was fine. Yeah.
It wasn't great or anything like that. Yeah. So we just quick rating, 7 out of 10. I wish it did more, but I don't know what more it could have done, to be honest. As a discourse kind of aspect of it. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, for me, like to decent 3.5 out of 5. It's worth checking out though. I will say though, I love the archival footage, but it's kind of interesting though that stuff like this, like somebody could tell me, well, if you go on YouTube, you'll see all these clips, but no, like they I don't know, like I should really look up the credits because I would love to find out how they got those like VHS recordings of the events. Well, sorry, of the themselves. I would love to find out that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just the time when it was the 90s when stuff started to really become like cheap ways to record stuff. That whole era and aesthetic of the material. If you watch, I forget the if you watch a TDE video, right?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But what I mean is it's not like it was filmed for like a documentary or like a TV. But it's like, all right, some random guys filmed this, but who own the footage? That's what I'm trying to say.
I sure they just scrap that together and pay whoever they had to pay.
Like you mean like outsource them? Like they had to like real outsource them.
Well, I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard. Like it's not hard to like gather this footage together. You just thing, you find the source and they say, "Hey, we want to use this in the documentary. We'll pay you." Blah blah blah. That's it.
Right. Okay. And last point I want to make. I guess you could close things off, right? Shout out to Doughboy Dread because right after I tag him on the trailer for this, he shares Chuck English's Freaknik 96, and he was like, "Oh, this better be in the show." And I had to spoil this. during the closing credits, they play the friggin' song, and I clap. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then I watched the video for it, because he just sent me the single itself, not the video, but the video for it real hard, right? It's real kicks. It kind of play on the old school, new school aspect of Freaknik. That's all I'll say. It's goofy shit, but it's my kind of shit. I love that. But I love the fact that they added that song into the movie, and also to that little, well, the intro from T-Pain's show too, isn't it as well? I love that. Yeah. So we called it. We called it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But any last words on the show?
Yeah. As I say, I didn't say. I was expecting something different. I was expecting something more wilder. I was expecting something wilder than it was, but it was fine. Like, it was just decent. More commentary.
You know. I think we were expecting. That same Woodstock 99 show, what we covered last year, right? Like, remember those moments, like when Korn perform and Red Hot?
I was expecting something like that.
I just seen people like mosh pits going mad. Like, I was expecting something along that line. But we didn't get that. Yeah.
And to be fair, it's that it because that show played out differently, and how that played out, it was that this Freaknik is something that's going on for the better part of 20 years or more, right? It's that stuff, right? So you can't really gather it into one set of event or make it work in that way. So that's why it'll be harder to push in that sense. So it's that. So but I dug it. I thought I really liked it, all things considered.
Yeah, me too. And lastly, I would say that it is worth checking out though. But don't let the title fool you, right? There's more to it than, it's just freaky nasty shit in the streets, man. There's more to it than that. It's a really, really fascinating story, right? And you do not have to be a hip hop head to understand it or get it, right? It's just something really amazing that happened in the 90s that, influenced hip-hop culture, well, at least in the southern side of things, and also Atlanta as well too, right? So, it's fascinating in that aspect. But what the point is, the point again at here is that you don't have to be a hip-hop head or somebody who know about southern hip-hop to appreciate it, right? It's entertaining, it's fun, it's informative. It doesn't get as salacious and as wild as the show kind of hyped itself up to be. But for what it is, it's still solid business, man. So check it out, man.